they increased my valuation from $188,000 to $299,000. I got a 2-bedroom bungalow on a postage stamp, a century home, all original in Lakewood. I mean, this is nothing. This house is nothing. And, which was a 51.9% increase. And boy, oh boy, did I panic. So I started calling around to figure out what to do, get an appraisal. They said, down at the county, said, get an appraisal, get estimates, whatever. I did all that. Meanwhile, I called the city to see if they might be interested in, helping their senior homeowners, in particular senior homeowners that are struggling with property taxes. And basically they're like, well, no. And I'm like, what? We're anchor homeowners. This is, we keep your neighborhoods nice. What? What happens? And, then it occurs to me in all my naivete that, why kill the cash cow? They're getting these huge increases. This is a boon to the city. Why would they do something about that? I'm like, boy, I'm really naive. So anyways, and between the county and the city, at some point, one of them said to me, maybe you should just sell your home if you can't afford the property taxes. And I just went from panic to fuming. I mean, I saw red.
I think a lot of people are in your situation. In fact, as far as your property tax bill, and this is just, I've received comment after comment on my channel after our first interview and after I interviewed Brian and Lizzie, certainly, basically saying what you have shared, that they got the property tax bill in the mail from the county. They kind of dismissed it or didn't really think about it. And then all of a sudden they were like, wow, this is a lot more expensive than it was last year. And one person in particular, I pulled some comments. This individual is in Lorain County, and they said their property tax went up 46% on a 1,200 square foot home with no improvements in 6 years. Another commenter said in Summit County, their bill jumped from $3,600 to $4,500, a 31% hike, even though their income stayed flat. So it's not isolated, obviously. It's happening everywhere throughout the country, and definitely, in the Buckeye State. There's no doubt. So how do you explain to homeowners, real quick, how do you explain to homeowners why these hikes are happening, even when nothing about their home has changed?
So what happens is, this is really interesting, because when I figured this, the state comes up with a number, like a percentage of increase that the counties need to meet, the county auditors need to meet, right? So this percentage of increase they claim comes from current market data. And they say, hey, Joe, so-and-so in blah, blah county, you need to meet this number of 40% or 30% on these revaluation years, the every 6-year revaluation. You need to meet these numbers with your reevaluations. Then the county, or we're going to take our federal funding from you. So the county auditors are over a barrel to meet this number, whether they think it's fair or not, knowing what it's doing to their constituent, their citizens. And they have to meet this number or they lose funding, right? So then they hire an outside agency, or sometimes they have internal, but many of them hire an outside agency. One of them is called Visions, I think, anyways. And they come in and they go through everything, and they make decisions as to the increase in your home. And, in order to meet that number, in order to get that number up to where it needs to be, to meet that number to satisfy the state so that the county can get their funding. Now, it kind of seems to me to be a bit of a tail wagging the dog situation. I kind of, I'm starting to wonder, after I look at this, it's like, boy, oh boy, and I hate to think about it, but are we, is our valuations going up because the state's putting them up, or are they actually going up, or, what's really happening here? I mean, I don't know.
To your point real quick, Beth, this is, I guess, a follow-up question for you, or something to think about, and maybe something the viewers want to know. Values on Ohio homes across the country, and in Ohio, I'm seeing it now. The growth of home prices is compressing. It's slowing rapidly. And in central Ohio, where I live, we're not negative over year yet, but we're only up 1% in Licking County, only 1% in Franklin County with home values now. So, they're not skyrocketing anymore like they were a few years ago. So does that mean our property tax increases will slow down? Furthermore, does it mean if values drop, will property taxes be reduced? My guess is no.
I've never known taxes to be reduced. Have you? I mean, when was the last time you saw any taxes reduced? I mean, I hate
Never.
to say that, but
Never happens. Never happens. Anyway, sorry to interrupt, but that when you brought up the value, so you're saying, if I understand you right, you're saying you think, based on what you've been involved in, and obviously you're knee deep into this thing, that it's possible that they just have a number that they're backing into. Like, hey, you need to make up this shortfall, or we need this amount of money in our budget, so go out and get it.
well, as far as the county goes, that is the number they're given. They have to back
Right.
into that number. They have to back it up. I mean, that's fact. That's how it works. As far as where the state is getting those numbers, supposedly, they are getting it from market data. Now, I don't know how they're getting it from market data when you're in the industry. There's not that big an increase across the state at this point. And there hasn't been really for the last year, I don't think. So it just seems a little odd to me. Just saying.
Yeah.
In 2025, property tax made up close to 50%, makes up close to 50% of my mortgage payment. That's crazy. Okay. That's not a doable number. That's not something to me that makes sense. We've got a situation here, that property tax is by far the largest chunk in our mortgage payment, the largest chunk, bar none, right? When you're going to get, so, this puts a burden on everyone, because what's happening is, not only does the cost of home ownership go up, if you can call it ownership, because really, if you want to know who really owns your home, don't pay your property tax for a year or two. The real owner shows up at the door, but the cost of this property tax affects not only homeowners but renters. Okay, so rents have doubled in the last decade, or darn near doubled in the last decade, at least in our area, and I'm sure many other areas are much like it. So this is all a cause and effect: property tax increase, rent, and unaffordable homeownership. I mean, young people cannot afford to go out and buy their first home anymore. It doesn't make good sense.
Beth, if you want to give us an update as to, first off, maybe the viewers may not understand what this abolishment actually means. What are you actually trying to accomplish with your group, and what the status of that is?
Well, abolishment means get rid of it entirely. I mean, we would no longer have property tax. So what that means is that abatements doesn't matter. Everybody's got abatements. It's all gone. Okay, no more property tax. So they have to come up with another way, because, property tax in and of itself is, to say it's unfair doesn't even crack the surface. Property tax it's not a tax. It's a fee for living in your home. I mean, and they're taxing us on monies we haven't seen. I'm taxed on an increase in the value of my home. It's not even like taxing capital gains, because I haven't sold my home yet. This is like taxing, for example, if you bought Apple stock back in, I don't know when, 2000, and now you've still got Apple stock, right? It's like taxing on the value you have now, even though you haven't sold your stock, but you're getting tax bills for the value of that money. So, and again, you don't get money back on this when your house loses value.